Hi students, in this video I'll be going through the 2013 O-Level Paper 2, question 6, part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 5. Right, so this is a question regarding trigo graphs. Okay, so let's read the question. Given that y equals to p plus q sine 3x, where p and q are positive integers, state the period of y. Okay, so to find the period of y, we always observe this number over here. So this number over here is 3, right? So it means that from 0 to 360 degrees, you will actually see 3 complete waves. So 1, 2, and then 3 complete waves from 0 to 360 degrees. Right, so period, if you understand what it means, it refers to the time for one complete wave. So you have one complete wave here, followed by another one over here, and then the third one all the way to 360. Okay, so if you were to divide by 3, you will get 120 here and then 240 here. Right, so this is the how it will look like. Okay, so the time for one complete wave, the period will actually be 120 degrees in this particular case. Right, so anyway, you just have to remember that to calculate period, okay, you will take 360 degree or 2 pi, okay, depending on if the question is talking in terms of radians. But in this question, they are using degrees, okay. You look at the last part over here. Okay, then you just divide by the number in front of the x. So if the number in front of x is 3, you divide by 3, then you will get period to be 120, right? So if it's 2, then you divide by 2, then the period will be 180. Okay, so you just follow accordingly. Okay, next part. Given that the maximum and minimum values of y are 6 and -2 respectively, find the amplitude of y. Okay, so let's say you have, I'll just draw one sine curve. Okay, so the sine curve or cosine curve will always have a central level over here. Okay, so there will always be a central level. Okay, let me redraw the graph. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, so there will always be a central level. Okay, so now they are saying that this maximum point, this maximum level over here is 6. And then the minimum level over here, okay, so it should touch here. Okay, so it's -2. Okay, so the maximum is 6, the minimum is -2. So find the amplitude. Okay, so the amplitude actually is this value over here, this one. Okay, let's call it big A. Okay, so the amplitude exists in 2 directions, one here and one here. Okay, but top and bottom should be the same height. Okay. Okay, so what will this amplitude be? Okay, so if you think about it, basically what you do is you calculate this whole thing. Okay, and then you divide by 2. So this will be 2 times of the amplitude, then you divide by 2. Okay, so to calculate this height, we will take 6 minus -2, right? So amplitude will be, so to calculate amplitude, so basically we'll just take 6 minus -2, and then that will be 2 times of the amplitude, then you divide by 2, so you get amplitude equals to 4, right? Okay, part 3, find the value of P and of Q. Okay, so if you recall the form of the values are, what does P and Q signify for a trigo graph? Okay, the number in front of the trigo function, the sine x or the cosine x or whatever, is actually the amplitude already. Okay, so we can actually just straight away state the value of Q. Okay, so Q is actually the amplitude, which will be equals to 4, because we have calculated it earlier already, right? Okay, then this P is actually what we know as the vertical shift. Okay, so P is actually the vertical shift. P equals to the vertical shift. Okay, so this P value will decide, right, whether the whole graph move up or move down, and the number will tell you move up or down by how much. Okay, so actually this P is actually this central level over here, which I drew in the diagram. Okay, so you can see that if the maximum is 6, then the amplitude is, let's say, 4. Okay, then we can calculate P by taking 6 minus 4. Okay, or conversely, we can take -2 plus the amplitude plus 4. Then we will also get the value of P, which is at the central level, right? So we can calculate P by just taking 6 minus the amplitude 4, which will get 2, right? Okay, but you can also calculate P, or by taking the P is actually also the midpoint between the maximum and the minimum. Okay, so you can also calculate P by taking 6 plus -2 divided by 2. Okay, which will also give you the 2. Okay, so 2 ways to calculate the amplitude. All right. Okay, so sketch the graph of y for x between 0 and 240. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the equation of the graph with the P and Q inside. So P is 2, right? Okay, then Q is 4. So plus 4 sine 3x. Okay. Okay, so usually so we know the maximum is 6 and the minimum is -2. Okay, so this is how I usually like to set up the graph before we start drawing. Okay, so we draw the y-axis and the x-axis. So here will be 0. Okay, so you can see I've drawn 3 dotted lines. So you can also do the same thing. In fact, I recommend you do the same thing. Okay, later I'll show you how we get the graph here, and you can draw it very nicely. So the maximum is 6. Okay, so you draw a dotted line at 6. Okay, then the minimum is -2. And then the central level, we calculated it to be 2, right? Okay, so 3 sets of dotted line. Okay, so 3 sets of dotted line. Okay, the next thing we will label will be the x-axis. Okay, so the x-axis, they want us to draw until 240. And we know that the period of one wave just now in part 1 is 120. Okay, so let's divide this into 120. And then, okay, we're going to measure out equal lengths. Okay, so this will be 240. Okay, what I mean by equal length means, let's say you use 4 cm for 0 to 120. Then 120 to 240 should also be 4 cm. Okay, same thing for the vertical axis. Okay, vertical axis, let's say 2 to 6, right, is 4 cm. Then 2 to -2 should also be 4 cm. Okay, if you do this, then your graph will be very nice. Okay. Okay, then now what we do is that from 0 to 120, okay, I'm going to divide this space into 4 equal intervals. Okay, so the 120 is here, so I divide, you get 60, and then this will be 30, and then this will be 90. Okay, so 30 and then 90. Okay, do the same thing for 120 to 240. Okay, divide into 4 equal intervals. Okay, so over here, this will be 150, this will be 180, and 210. Okay, then now we can start to sketch already. Okay, so the sine graph will look like this. Okay, so this is a positive sine graph because it's plus 4 sine 3x, right? Okay, so a sine graph will look like this. They will all start from the central point. Okay, the central point also I like to call it the rest point. Okay, because I treat it like a water particle. When the water is not disturbed, right, then it's at rest. Okay, so a sine graph will start at the rest point. Okay, go up to the maximum. Okay, then next one, go back to rest. Okay, then go down to the minimum, and then go back to rest. Okay, so let's see how we can apply this to our graph. Okay, so at 0, x0, it will be at rest. So rest is actually the central point, which is at 2. Okay, and then after that, it goes to the maximum. So at 30 degrees, okay, you go up to maximum, so somewhere around here. Okay, use your ruler to mark it out. Okay, so in your exam, you have the ruler. Okay, you can use your ruler and you will get a more nicer, more accurate value, more precise. Then at 60, it goes back to the rest. Okay, so the pattern is rest, maximum, rest, minimum, then go back to rest. Okay, then at 90, it goes to the minimum. Okay, and then after that, at 120, it goes back to rest. Okay, so let's see how we can use this to come up with the first wave. Yeah, I'm going to erase this one. It seems like it's supposed to be slightly more to the right. Okay, over here. Okay, so the graph will look like this. Okay, so it's supposed to be curved here. Okay, go down. Okay, then from here curve. Then from here go back up. Right. Okay, then after rest, the next cycle repeat. So at 150, it will go to maximum. At 180, goes back to rest. At 210, Okay, goes back to go to minimum, and 240 go back to rest. Okay, so go up, come down, go down, come up, and then finally go back. So now you have your graph. Okay, so indeed, from 0 to 240, you have two complete waves because the period of one wave is 120. Right? So this is how I usually approach drawing the drawing of 3-fold graph. Okay, you can always get very nice graph. Right?